University of Texas in Austin. And then I came to India on the fellowship program, and I decided to stay on. So a lot of I have a small publishing company that probably ties into my journalism background, but outside of that, everything else I've done actually doesn't really connect to what I studied in school. But I've been part of like coordinating a gift economy restaurant, managing a volunteer program, running a school. So there's bits of everything. There's education, there's craft, there's management. I don't know, and there's everything and there's nothing in that as well, I would say. So I don't know. Okay.
So Anjali, what about your book that you written on Gujarat? How did that happen? And I happened to read it when I was traveling in Gujarat.
Yes. So after my first year living in Kutch, I was just thinking that so many people associate travel in India with places like the Taj Mahal or maybe Kerala or Rajasthan, which are definitely parts of India. But for somebody to really experience India, you have to go in deep, and there's so many just layers and really amazing things. So, a couple of us were interested in sharing that side of India, but not just giving it to people, but also making it so that it's a two-way exchange. So it's not just about going and seeing and taking a picture and leaving, but how there can be an exchange between the person traveling and the communities that are part of that travel experience. So Gujarat is a definitely off the beat destination. The average person would never think of going to Gujarat for a vacation, including Gujaratis. So, but for that reason, it's also a very authentic place to go, and it's a lifestyle that is very real. It hasn't been created in any way for anybody. So the idea was to encourage mindful, conscious, immersive travel, and that was sort of where that came from. And it was an amazing journey because I got to travel so much of Gujarat and along with the team that we had, and it's just beautiful. There's so many things that are in India. There's so much in this country that you could spend probably 5 lifetimes and never see all of it. But all the lessons from all the people we met, and it's definitely not in the destinations. It's definitely in the stretches between the destinations that you get to experience India. It would be cool to hear somebody else share.
I was just sharing with Anjali today why walking holds such an important space in so many cultures around the world, including India. And the more I ask myself, I was getting this understanding that there are 2 ways of walking. One is walking away from something that you don't want. There's something in your life that you're not happy with. You just want to put it away, so you're walking away. And there's something like walking towards. And I think as I've matured, as I would like to think I've matured over the years, anything that I've been trying to walk away from finds itself in the other city again. So if I'm trying to get away from something here, it's almost like a drama that wherever I reach, it will recreate itself. Say I'm having a hard time with a friend and I'll walk away from this relation. So I push it away, and if I reach somewhere else, I'll have the same drama with another person. And now I'm realizing it's about walking toward. So if I have a problem, how can I probably walk into it, through it, into a better space? And nonetheless, walking is awesome. For me, walking is a beautiful meditation. And I think when I'm in more of my active phases, it's always great to be walking. So there have been some amazing pilgrimages in India also. I mean, every major religion has walking as part of its culture. This Narmada Parikrama that a lot of people do. People walk in the Himalayas. Mount Kailash is another parikrama. So, going forward, I'd like to see more and more people, choosing walking as a means of self realization or as a tool. So your journey is constantly inspired a lot of us, including me, and we really want to say thank you for that.
But it's never a single journey, so I could say the same.
Actually, what made you go into this working group?
So actually, when I was in college, I studied in Spain, and as my year was finishing up, a good friend of mine had told me, you absolutely have to do it. But my brother was graduating at the time, so I absolutely had to go home. So I was like, okay. And it stuck with me. I was very interested in it. So it was already in the back of my head, and the timing was just perfect. And there was a part of me that felt like, just before I went for the walk, I had been working quite a bit, and there was a lot going on, so I just wanted to restore some level of balance. And I felt like being in nature was the perfect way to do that. So I was really interested in walking because I agree, like as you said, it is a form of meditation. And so I felt like that plus being in the middle of nature would just sort of be exactly what I needed to find out, to restore that balance. So that was my reason for going.
What's a good time to do that walking? You get places to stay.
Yeah, logistically it's easy. There are many paths that take you to Santiago, which is the name of the destination. There's a church that's built over St. James's body. The main path is open around the year. People go anytime. The one we took was up in the north, and so it's open for 3 months out of the year because then it gets very cold. There are about 5 or 6 other walking paths that you can take up to Santiago, depending on the time of the year. They all vary. One goes from the south, so it's better in the winter. And for the main ones, there's usually a hostel for pilgrims every between like 20 to 40 kilometers. So a lot of people will base their walk on those destinations so that they have a place to stay every night. You can also camp. And there's no ends to like what sort of comes as you're walking if you're open to it. So you don't necessarily need to know where you're going to end up that night. Things generally work out. So.
What was your toughest day on the walk?
Honestly, I don't know about. Okay, so there was 2 nights. One night, the hostel in the city we reached and was completely full. So they sent everybody to like a gymnasium, and so it was freezing in the gymnasium, and so we ended up not sleeping at all. And then the next day we walked, and then the day after that, wherever we reached again, it was the same issue, and we slept outside. And usually when I sleep outside, I sleep just fine, but lots of bugs that day. So I remember it being 2 days of not getting proper rest, and then the next day we were walking 30 kilometers. So physically, those 30 kilometers were really hard. And I think there was a big lesson in that, which is if you don't take care of your physical well-being, it does have an impact on you, right? Like it was just so much harder to walk that day. Physically, that was definitely the hardest. Mentally or emotionally, one day while we were walking, a few people had joined us, and we were all going through this narrow tract in the forest. And just suddenly, like, I had all of these visions of like all the people that have passed through my life. And there have been a lot because in the 10 years I've been in India, I've been here, but everybody else has been very transitional. So that's been extremely transitional space. And then also growing up, we moved around quite a bit. So I've met a lot of people over the course of my life, and so I just remember it was weird. Like it started from nowhere, and just a sense of like all these things that passed, and the sense of like for a few minutes, but a few intense minutes, I felt this intense sort of loneliness and this understanding that like nothing is permanent. And when you say these things, emotionally, like mentally, it's fine, but when you feel it, it's really different. So I just remember it being really intense. And then as soon as we got out of the forest, I was fine. But I think that for me stood out quite a bit. Like it just, otherwise for the rest of the walk, I didn't really have too many ups and downs. It was pretty like whatever, constant. But that was really intense. It must have been all in all like 10 or 15 minutes, but it was intense minutes of like just all these things sort of passing.
So I'm just wondering if what you were looking for was exactly that. And when you say you came back and everything was fine, I'm just wondering if the intense experience was really what you might have been looking for.
It's very possible, absolutely. I don't know. I don't don't feel like I was necessarily looking for anything when I went for the month. But
Not
for
in a
sure.
looking sense, I mean in the sense that
Seeking like just
for the intent of whatever that you.
no, absolutely. I agree with you. I think every single thing that came my way during that walk was something I was meant to pass along with. And I do think that there was a deep lesson in that. It was 5 intense minutes, but when I came out, I felt extremely relieved, also like a hush, sort of, you know. So maybe there was
Almost like you're alone in the cosmos now. Thank you.
yeah. I think you might be on.
Anjali, can you share a little about when you came to India? Of course, you spent 10 years here, but what do you think were your small inner practices over these 10 years that you've cultivated and which have stayed with you, which have really helped you to get to know yourself better?
I would say probably in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, meditation has been a very big part of that. I promised myself that, so when I decided to stay on in India, initially it was 1 year, then I extended for 6 months, extended for 6 more months, and at the end of that 2-year period, I told myself, I'm just going to stay so that I'm not straddling 2 worlds, and I will stay as long as I feel like I should be here. And the moment I feel like I shouldn't, I will think about it, and maybe it's time to leave. And so I continuously have maybe conversations with myself just to make sure I'm clear on why I'm still here and clear on what I'm doing, and if it makes sense, in the sense that like there are things that are comfortable and fun and good for us, but you know, is it in alignment with my value system? Am I pushing myself as much as I can be so that there's a growth, and am I actually contributing something in the work that I'm doing, in what I'm doing? So I feel like that's something I try to do regularly. So it's my check and balance system with myself, basically. Writing has also been a big part, just reflection. And either yoga or running whenever I can get it into my schedule.
But right now you're at a point where you feel comfortable being in India for the near future, or are you still evaluating, or
Well,
doing a check?
it's a good question. It's a really good question. I've been really comfortable being in India until now. So my deal with myself was that I just want to make sure I'm never comfortable, and that's the reason I'm here. Like, it should always be something more than just comfort or security or ease. But actually, in this last year is when I started having sort of this more a stronger conversation with myself about whether I'm still here for the right reasons or not. And I was just telling Sheetal that for the time that I've been here, I've always been actively involved in a lot of things. But other than the school, I've actually made a very conscious decision not to get involved in anything for the next few months, just so I can also observe and see what comes out of that. And then I'll decide whether I keep going or I go back. India in itself, I love it, and I could live here for the rest of my life. But there's also just the forces of family, being closer to them, and also maybe, I don't know if I need to explore something else or not. So.
I think very different people understand service differently. Wondering what inspires you to serve every day.
That's a good question. I feel like my understanding of service has changed over the years, but service, in my opinion, is doing what resonates with you in a way that doesn't harm anybody else. So I don't necessarily think of service as helping others or volunteering or any of these sorts of things. I think it's being very honest, very open, compassionate, mindful in what we do, and that it really resonates with who we are. I think that's probably the biggest service everybody does. Like, when people are in that space, they tend to give the best of themselves, and that has an impact on everybody else around them. So I would probably say that is what I think service is. Is maybe being the best that you can be at any given point.
Actually, I have a question. I hear a lot of mindful practices that you have just now spoken to all of us. So, have you done something somebody to help you with all these practices?
Some of them, I remember being really inspired by Gandhiji the first year I was in India, and writing was always a really big tool for him. So I think I borrowed that one. And it's a big part of who I am, but I think understanding how to use it for mindfulness and purification, I learned that from a lot of what I read in Gandhiji. I think the meditation, I attended a few courses of Vipassana several years ago, and I practiced Vipassana for a while. Before that, I used to practice a different form of meditation, but it didn't necessarily invoke something in me that I felt I really connected with. And then after Vipassana, I met another teacher whose style of meditation really works for me. And so it's become a very big part of my life. So I would definitely say his teachings, and it goes just beyond meditation. It's very much about a way of life and how to make that. It's not about half an hour, an hour. It's about 24 hours. So I think that's been a real strong echo. And then everybody else around me. I mean, even in this room, I don't know most of you, but I can imagine all of you are pretty amazing. So it's just, that engagement and learning from other people about what they do, borrowing from that. And it's about doing that.
Personal comment, if you wish. Have you watched the movie called The Way?
The way, no, I've heard of it. It's about the walk.
It's about something. I heard about it from people 5 months ago. Had a friend sent it to us. I watched it with my mother as soon as I got it. I thought I watched it as spiritual play. And then I had it in Pune here with me last week. A cousin visited and I was talking to him about it. He was going to follow it, he forgot. And then last night, I took it out because I'm seeing him next week. So I wouldn't forget, I was going to give it to him. And this morning, I had this message from our wife saying we should meet and come to this talk. So when you were saying that you saw all these people pass through, it was a very intense experience. I don't know if I'm right, but I had a sense that you felt this sort of disconnect, intense loneliness, you said. It's just to say that things are so connected, interconnected. You really can't, there's nothing separate in some sense. That was just comment on what you said. And this movie is about coming somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. One understanding that we've developed over the last 2 odd years that we've been hosting these talks is that quality of the sharing is amplified so much when we've all shared silence together at the beginning. Because what silence does is kind of allows what's going on in our head to kind of quieten down so that we all can create a space where what needs to be shared is shared. So as much as I always have gratitude to the speaker, I always have sometimes a lot more gratitude to the people who come and choose to share a silence and create that space in which these conversations can happen. And when I say these conversations, I'm saying authentic, straight from the heart, non-scripted. And it's amazing where just what needs to happen happens, and what needs to be shared is shared, and what's left unsaid is best left unsaid. So thank you each and every one for coming, and we what can we offer to someone like Anjali who who gives selflessly of herself maybe a minute of silence and gratitude and metta. So thank you for coming all the way, and we hope to offer you our collective minute for your journey and all of us. Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you, Anjali, for being here and sharing your beautiful journey with us. And thank you, everyone, for coming. We've all prepared a small home-cooked meal for all of you, so please remain seated and we'll eat in silence. We have a few volunteers who will help us in serving, so we'd really love it if all of you all ate little and went.